Well, it wasn't enough for Paul Kirkman to fight on our behalf overseas. He wanted to bring it home, and we're real proud of him, and we're proud to be associated with him. Thank you very much, Mr. Kirkman. I got to tell you, occasionally you're going to have some of the speeches interrupted by a train here and there. I'd encourage you, with those of you with recorders, to record the sound of the train, because that's our official sound effect. We're the freight train. Play it over the phone when you call Washington, please. Yeah, our official sound effect. Well, it's hard to believe when we talk about the Liberty Restoration Project that we even have to have a Liberty Restoration Project. That's incredible. But we thank God for it. And ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to introduce to you Catherine Bleish from the Liberty Restoration Project. Catherine?
Good evening. It is so wonderful to see so many people gathered here tonight for one common purpose. We are sick and tired of the federal government telling us how to live our lives. Paul did an excellent job of really detailing what the 10th Amendment to the Constitution does for us. It gives us the freedom to govern ourselves. And I'm here today to shed a little hope for you all, because there have been some fantastic things happening in the Missouri legislature. But first I have a confession to make. There was a time in my life where I was a stark, raving liberal. Yeah, I actually sat on the board of directors for a local United Nations Association out in Santa Barbara, California. Yes. Thankfully, I got an education and I learned about the Constitution. It was actually through the campaign of Republican Congressman Dr. Ron Paul that I discovered I indeed am not a liberal. I'm a conservative, and I think that the government needs to get out of my life. But see, during that campaign, my heart was broken over and over. Because I started out angry. I was a liberal. I was angry at Republicans. I grew up going to high school and college during the Bush years, and all I knew was Bush bad, Republicans bad, Democrats good. And Republicans were going to take power in 2006, and they were going to restore the Constitution, and they were going to stop these Republicans who were corporate cronies and really didn't care about our rights. And then Nancy Pelosi became the Speaker of the House, and the Democrats took power. And nothing changed. It actually got worse. The Bush bailouts began, and I realized the Republicans aren't inherently bad. Corruption is the problem, and it exists in both parties. Well, I got involved. I started working on the Ron Paul campaign, and I was out handing out flyers and sign waves, and people laughed at me, they called me names, and the press said that me and my friends were not real people. We were internet spammers. Just like the Tea Parties are astroturfers, right? I then realized, okay, the Republican Party's corrupt, the Democratic Party's corrupt, so's the mainstream media. Where do I go from here? Well, obviously, Ron Paul didn't get the nomination. We had another socialist running as a Republican, John McCain. And now we have a communist in office, and people probably don't think I'm so crazy anymore, do they?
Nope.
So last fall, even though my heart was broken and Ron Paul stepped out of the race, I stayed involved. I canvassed for a Libertarian Party candidate running for state rep because I lived in Kansas City in the most liberal district of the state, and no Republican was running. I canvassed for a Republican congressional candidate and a Constitution Party presidential candidate. None of them won. My heart was broken, and I was starting to feel a little hopeless, but I decided to stay involved, and I turned to the Missouri legislature. They came back into session in the spring of 2008, and I heard about a piece of legislation that Cynthia Davis had introduced. It was based on the 10th Amendment to the Constitution, and it would stop Obama from enacting FOCA, the Freedom of Choice Act, which would supersede over 500 state laws across the nation, state abortion laws. And I thought, well, hey, this is something I can get involved with. The Missouri legislature introducing a piece of legislation to stop the federal government from doing something? I can get behind that. So I got involved and I testified in hearings and I knocked on doors in the Capitol, and next thing I knew, legislation passed. We stood up to the federal government and said no, but thank you. Well, then it happened again. A piece of legislation was introduced by Representative Jim Getz up in northern Missouri. See, back in 2005, the federal government passed the Real ID Act, which would require every state in the union to comply with a federal driver's license that would track our biometrics, either a thumbprint or a retinal scan. Okay, this can't be good. And about 30 other states had passed resolutions to stand up against it, and I thought, surely, this is something that the Missouri legislature can get behind. So again, I went down and I canvassed the halls of Jefferson City and testified in committee hearings. And would you believe that we got rid of the Real ID with a unanimous vote in the Missouri Senate?